Hello, and welcome back to Tom Talks 2. I'm Tom, and today I'm talking to Dingo, artist and creator of Scoob and Shag. Now, Dingo, my first question for you is have you been reading anything recently that you'd like to talk about?
Recently, unfortunately, because of quarantine, my reading hasn't been the best.
Hmm.
I live in New York, so I used to read all the time when I would take like the train,
Hmm.
because that was like the perfect time to just pull out a book and start reading. But since I've been inside pretty much this entire year,
Hmm.
um, I haven't been able to catch up on my reading. I have been reading JoJo.
Ooh.
Yeah. After I finished the part 5 anime,
Hmm.
I couldn't wait for Stone Ocean, so I just started reading it.
Hmm.
Um, and that's been really fun. Other than that, um, I recently read I recently read all of Dune,
Oh, wow.
which was, yeah, a challenge,
Hmm.
but 100% worth it. Uh, it's like one of like the best world building like kind of series I've ever read.
Yeah. I've been listening to the audiobook of Dune over the course of like a year now, just whenever I find
Oh
like
yeah.
a moment where I'm not on YouTube or listening to music or whatever, I'll put Dune on, and it is great. Like it is a really good time. It's just like it's so long. I mean, all
It's
books
so
are, but
long,
yeah.
yeah.
Where you up to? You said you've been reading JoJo. Are you still into part six, or have you gotten to part 7 or 8 now, or still just part
No,
six?
I'm still on part 6. I've
Mm-hmm.
been I've been just slowly reading it whenever I have the time.
Cool.
Um, but yeah,
Oh, well, I hope you enjoy it. I'm a huge fan of JoJo myself, so it's always
I do
cool to
too.
hear.
It's my first time like actually reading it,
Ah,
so
very
it's
nice.
been really fun. It's been a lot of inspiration from it too.
Awesome. I'll talk about what I've been reading too, since I guess I've been doing that on the on the other interviews. I try and
Yeah.
read something every week just so that I have something to talk about on these. But this week, I'll admit all I've done is catch up on your comic. that's uh, that's all I've read this week, which not bad, not bad at all. Like to spend my time doing, but it's just like what is that to say when I'm talking to the guy who made it? It's like not there's not really anything to explain to you about it.
Yeah, tell me more about this comic that you just read.
It's like it seems to just be like a couple of 4 panel jokes, not much really. I stopped before the 10th one, so I'm sure nothing changes.
Oh, that's some of the funniest reactions I've seen. Like someone that'll like read just like the first like 4 episodes, and they're like, "I don't get it. Like, what's all the hype about?" And then like people will be like, "No, please, just keep reading it."
That was the exact experience I had with one of my friends. I told her like, "Oh, I'm gonna be being the guy who did this comic, Scoob and Shag," and she was like, "I've never heard of it before." And she was reading it, and she's like, "Yeah, it's kind of funny." And I was like, "Just give it a minute, like you'll see." And she was like, "Oh my god." Before we talk about Scoob and Shag, before we get onto that, I'd just like to talk to you a bit about um, projects that you got up to before Scoob and Shag. Any little projects, anything that maybe inspired you to like do this, or just anything at all, really.
Yeah, nothing like I wasn't really working on anything serious. Art has always kind of just been my hobby
Hmm.
um growing up. And so yeah, pretty much anything I worked on before Scoob and Shag was just like drawings I did for fun, like pretty much anything you can find on like my Twitter or my Tumblr
Hmm.
like is like the most recent stuff I had done before that. I did do a a short comic. Like I would do like little comics here and there
Hmm.
that I used to post on my now dead Tumblr. I did a series that was like about it was just like me and my friends, and it was like JoJo, but instead of stands, it was our butts, and we had like different butts that we would like fight each other with. It was really dumb, but it was really fun. But that was maybe like my first hand at like drawing like shonen like action kind of
Hmm.
stuff like that. So that I think definitely sort of played a hand eventually into making Scoob and Shag.
So before Scoob and Shag, there was you didn't really. I guess it's more like you just drew for fun, really. Like you didn't really have any. like big projects essentially.
Yeah, no, before Scoob and Shag, I was a dog walker. Like, art
Fitting,
was never like
kind of fitting in a
my
way.
career. Yeah, yeah, that's true.
That's cool. That's interesting because like we'll talk about it more later as well. But like those fight scenes, I'm sure you've been told this before. They are something. Like I would have definitely thought that you had some sort of like experience doing some other like project like this big or on this scale. But like to hear that's really impressive. Like to say the least. Um, but yeah, before the fights, before anything like that, Scoob and Shag started as um, I described it as like kind of like Twitter comics, where it's like the four panels,
Yeah.
like and then like a joke happens, and like they were funny, but like it takes a turn. I think around like 15 issues in, something like that,
Mhm.
and becomes something completely different. And then about 15 issues after that, again, it becomes something different again, almost like it becomes a horror, and then it becomes like an action series. And
Yeah.
I guess like
Uh,
oh sorry, go ahead.
no, no, sorry. You can finish your question.
No, I was just gonna ask like I get the impression that like you didn't set out to make an action manga esque comic when you started with this project, and unless you did, but like it seems like you decided to pivot at a point, and I guess I'd just like to know what your thought process behind that was, like taking this relatively simple concept and turning it into something like so much bigger than what it started as.
Yeah. So none of it was planned like at all. I started the series originally as kind of like a joke between like me and my two other friends. Like we would do these little comics and then we would post them on Tumblr. Just we made a blog specifically for it where we would just post them.
Hmm.
And like one or two of them, had gotten some notoriety. They'd like been spread around. And we actually gained like a lot more followers than we had expected.
Hmm.
Um, and so we kept doing them for a little while, just for fun. And eventually that kind of died down. Like we kind of moved on to other stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but we had like even after that, like we stopped making them, like we would still be gaining followers. People would still be sharing those comics.
Hmm.
And so I, would always look back on it and be like, maybe I should go back and like keep working on it.
Hmm.
Um, so my idea was like I thought it would just be really funny to like escalate from like the simple four panel comics and like
Hmm.
slowly have like a continuity into like an overarching story.
Hmm.
Um but yeah, at first none of it was like I didn't plan for it to be like an action like battle manga.
Hmm.
At first it was a horror that I was
Hmm.
kind of leaning into
Yeah.
more. Um, and then the metal manga thing just I escalated it to that because I thought it would be funny. Um, and then but yeah, like I think that's what kind of got the biggest reaction out of people.
Hmm.
Was like the changing in genre.
Yeah.
Um, with these characters, that everyone kind of recognizes. Was really what kind of got the attention, and that's when I said, I at this point I can't stop. I have to keep going.
I mean, it's a winning combination. You're taking these like sometimes like 50-year-old characters and turning them into Dragon Ball characters essentially. Like there's just it is something just seeing that happen. Like especially when a character that like that I enjoy like shows up where I'm like, oh, it's Homer Simpson. Like, what's he gonna do? Something like that. And because I guess like you start taking it like as a reader, you start taking it like really seriously. Like at points where like you almost forget that you're looking at like Courage the Cowardly Dog and Popeye having these like beautifully rendered fight scenes. It just it doesn't feel like that, and then suddenly like Yogi Bear will say something with his accent, and it like snaps you back into that kind of like mindset of like, oh, that this is what I'm reading. it
No,
you
yeah, I think. like a huge part of it is that like people, because they recognize the characters, like I don't have to like spend so much time like deliberating on that character or
Hmm.
like explaining who they are.
Hmm.
You know, like you instantly know who they are, and so like seeing them fight against some other character is just kind of like your first reaction is, "Oh my god, Shaggy's fighting Yogi Bear." Like it's not like you don't need anything else like out of context. That's just funny. You know?
Hmm. That was the first like exposure I had to your comic was the Shaggy and Yogi fight like from ages ago now.
Mhm.
I think I saw it on Reddit. Someone shared it, and I was like, this is really well done. And because I thought it was just like an isolated thing. I thought that like it was just like there wasn't any like context to it. It was just like what if Yogi and Shaggy had a fight like an anime, but then like finding it again and seeing there is actually all this context and story behind it. It's like oh my god, there's like so
Yeah,
much more.
and that's really how it all started. I mean,
Hmm.
because originally I started on Tumblr. That's where like I had posted all the comics originally.
Hmm.
Um, and people would share them, and like people would see them just out of context and just go, "What the hell is this?" And then they would click it, and they would be like, "Oh my god, there's more!" And
Hmm.
so that's kind of how like it basically steamrolled.
Hmm. Because like that's the thing is like yeah, as a concept itself, like it is just funny, and that like you definitely lean into it at points. Like a moment that comes to mind is just the line "Garfield, don't shoot the president." Like that line on its own
Yeah.
is just really funny, and the fact that like I think what makes it so great is that you can track like how you got to that point. You know what I mean? Like it's not just like a single image of Garfield. It there's a whole like reason for it happening, and that almost makes it
Mm.
funnier that like it kind of almost naturally got to this point. But yeah, like that concept, like I said, is great on its own. But I think what really carries it is the powers themselves. The ballyhoos are like really inventive, like genuinely. Like some of them are really really great. Like visually, they're just really interesting to watch happen, or just like the kind of usage of them is just really interesting. So it's like it's the combination of like funny parody idea on top of like really well executed battle manga tropes that just makes it like it's like a trifle. I think isn't that it's like it has like layers of just great stuff in it. Basically, that's how I describe it. Is it a trifle? Did I just say the wrong thing? Or a lasagna? Maybe. Either way, something like that.
I think I like lasagna better. I
All
think that
right,
sounds good.
we'll say it's a battle manga lasagna is what it is. But yeah, when I was reading it, I was picking up on references to a bit of Hunter x Hunter. It felt like a bit of JoJo, a bit of My Hero Academia. I was curious if there was any other like inspirations you had that people maybe haven't picked up on yet that people might be surprised to hear that like like you take inspiration from.
There's definitely My Hero and JoJo
Hmm.
are in there because I've watched and read that a lot, and I
Hmm.
love them as battle mangas. I do get Hunter x Hunter a lot, but I've never seen or read Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, interesting.
Um, yeah, it's definitely on my list because I get it recommended so much.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, as far as other things, well, one of the more obvious ones is Junji Ito when it comes to like the
Oh yeah.
horror stuff.
Hmm.
I've gotten that one a lot. I don't know. I get a lot of my inspiration, I have to say, from movies.
Hmm.
I watch a lot of movies, and one of the main reasons I panel everything the way it is, that's just like the very simple, just like like a very simple rectangle, is because
Hmm.
like I a lot of the way I like storyboard or plan episodes is kind of how I would imagine if I were like storyboarding a show or a
Hmm.
movie.
Right.
Um, so I get a lot of my inspiration from like, especially visually, from like movies. I'm a big David Lynch fan.
Cool.
Um, yeah, I mean, horror movies in general are a big inspiration,
Hmm.
and that's kind of what did inspire the original kind of jump into horror.
Hmm.
Um, and I still consider the whole thing to kind of be horror in some kind of way.
Hmm.
I definitely want to like lean back into it a bit more.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I watch a lot of horror movies, and that's definitely played a huge inspiration.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed that even recently with the girl from Powerpuff Girls. I can't remember her
Oh, Miss
name.
Bellum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like that bit felt very, very horror movie, very kind of Junji Ito with the the whole face. um, and yeah, like the beginning part as well, like the haunted mansion type of thing with like the creepy visuals. Yeah, like I think like yeah, the horror aspect definitely comes across. It's interesting that you haven't read Hunter x Hunter because, like, I'll be real with you, I haven't read it either. But I was asked to ask you if you had read it, so like I'm glad I don't have to like pose because I was really scared that you were gonna say like, oh yeah, it's inspired by this bit or that bit, and I'd be like, shut like like yep, that sounds about right. So that's good. I'm glad we both haven't read or watched it yet.
Yeah, I
Uh,
feel like some people are gonna revoke my weeb card for that one.
oh, you can't watch everything though. Like, there's gonna be stuff you haven't seen or read. Like,
Yeah.
you only need to chill out. I did a little bit of like sleuthing on YouTube and stuff before this interview, just to see, what like fan creations of your work, what that looks like. I saw quite a lot of there was a lot of like comic dubs, like edits, stuff like that. But I saw a decent amount of like tier lists. Like I saw like people like ranking the characters like in tiers like they would do with Dragon Ball or anything like that, and like a full on wiki, where they keep track of everyone's powers and stuff like that. And I guess I'd just be interested to know, like, when you're coming up with a new character, with a new ballyhoo, do you consider these ideas like when you're creating it, or is this just something that the fans have latched onto that you don't necessarily like engage with?
So yeah, like I've seen the wiki and I've seen the tier lists. I've seen them before, and I have a Discord server and I
Hmm.
have a whole channel that's like dedicated to like theory crafting and like discussing, ballyhoos and coming up with your own ballyhoo ideas and stuff like
Mm,
that. Um, and I'll read through it sometimes, and because a lot of it can be good inspiration. People come up with their own ideas. It's really cool.
that's really cool.
Um, but when it comes to actually like coming up with the ballyhoos, it's it's really not that deep. It's more like about how it serves the fight or the story like narratively.
Hmm.
Um, so like I don't keep like a tier list of like which ballyhoo's stronger than which.
Hmm.
Like if I need, a ballyhoo to be stronger for this scenario, then it will. But like there's kind of like an ongoing joke where like I say joke, but I don't know if it comes off as a joke, but that like their ballyhoo types, like there's like physical or energy or
Hmm.
like telekinetic types, but I just make those up. Um, like they're literally just like um funny ways of kind of just like describing the ballyhoo.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I try to not take like the easy route when it comes to coming up with ballyhoos. Like I feel like it's really simple to like, for example, name one like fast forward and make it so that the person goes really fast. Like I feel like
Hmm.
that would just be too easy. Um, so I try to like, I don't know, like make it like a play on words, like how channel is like you're literally channeling energy into something.
Hmm.
Um, or yeah, I I would rather go with like a pun or a play on words than like something honestly serious.
Yeah, I'm glad that was the answer because like I've yet to meet like a creator that makes like a comic like this where they take their own power sets like super seriously. Like it seems to be that like it's great to see like fans getting invested and like theorizing and stuff, but it does feel like everyone I've met who does this like for fun, it doesn't really seem to be a factor. So that like I guess it's just like yeah, that's in line with what I thought. I didn't want to come across as like kind of like insulting, be like, do you even think about this stuff? I meant it more in a way, just I'm just justifying asking a kind of snarky question right there.
No, yeah, it's really everything like all my writing kind of serves the purpose is to serve more the joke than it is to serve anything else,
Yeah,
if that
that's
makes
that's
sense.
fair. No, that's perfectly fair. I get that completely. I think yeah, once you get bogged down in like the rules of your own universe or any universe really, it just stops becoming fun and becomes like work.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have a bit of fun with it, definitely. No, that's cool. But yeah, like again, while I was doing a bit of research, I was looking into like the other work you've done with Mystery Crew, and
Mhm.
I checked the webtoon page, and I saw you had another comic in 2018. From what I can gather, ended a little bit abruptly, and this isn't meant to come across as like insulting or like I'm not assuming anything. I guess I'd just like to know because Scoob and Shag has been received really really well. Is that a factor for you when it comes to creating new content or branching out? Or and again, I don't want this to come across as like like what are you scared or something like that. I just mean like like is it something you consider before starting any projects, basically?
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
Scoob and Shag is definitely, not going to be the only project I ever work on.
Hmm.
Especially since at any day Disney or like Warner Brothers can come knocking at my door and be like, you can't keep doing this."
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, Sparkle Kid, we did start in 2018. Me and my two other friends, the same friends I started Scoob and Shag with.
Cool.
Um, we came up with Sparkle Kid. Um, and it was honestly it was a lot of fun working on it, but it's not necessarily because Scoob and Shag became more successful or anything, but more as in like it was just a lot of work
Hmm.
to do two comics at the same time, basically.
Hmm.
So we have talked about it, and we want to continue Sparkle Kid at some point in the future, but as it stands now, it basically only like two of us right now working full time on Scoob and Shag.
I get you. Yeah.
Um, so it'd be a little difficult to work on anything else at the moment.
No, yeah,
Um,
I get that. Yeah.
yeah, but that being said, Scoob and Shag is definitely not the only thing we're gonna be working on. We're planning on bringing back Sparkle Kid. I've had an idea that I've kind of had in the oven for a while.
Mhm.
Um, to work on, obviously once Scoob and Shag has run its course.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's looking a bit more into the future when we have a bit more of resources to work with.
Yeah, I get you. I guess I was just curious, like what the status of Sparkle Kid was more than anything. But no, it's cool to hear that like it's something that's being considered, and it's like I said, Scoob and Shag is still great. Like the quality is still really good, so it's not as if like
Mhm.
that's a worry. It's just yeah, just curious. We have this question at the end of every episode of Tom Talks to where I ask the guest if their character could do a kickflip, and we have like a chart that I think this will be the first episode where there'll be like an actual chart that'll say like yes, no, maybe like at the end of it. But I can't decide which character to ask, like who can do a kickflip. I guess it's gotta be Shag. But if you could do Shag and Scoob, I'd appreciate that. If Shag and Scoob can do a kickflip.
They can do a kickflip. I want to say tough question. I want to say Shag. I want to say Shag can do a kickflip because he's proven to be very dexterous, and
Hmm.
he played a teenager on TV for like 40 years. So I assume at some point he had to have learned to do a kickflip.
Sure.
I'll say Scoob has probably never done a kickflip, but he probably could if he wanted to. But then the board would just break in half
He has
as soon
kickflip
as he landed it.
potential, but no
Right.
no evidence of it. Okay. We'll put those on the list. Like I said, there should be like a graphic on the screen when
It's going to be a tier list.
yes, oh yes, there'll be like a Dragon Ball tier list, bringing it all back. Well, yeah, that's all the questions. Thank you so much for talking to me. Yeah, I'm looking forward for more Scoob and Shag updates. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Hello, and thank you so much for listening to another episode of Tom Talks 2. If you want to keep up to date with what me and my friends are doing, then follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Links in description. Or if you want to support what we're doing and see these interviews a week early, you can subscribe to our Patreon for a very small price. I can't remember the exact price, but it's a bargain no matter what. But yeah, check them out, and I'll see you next time with whoever I'm interviewing then. See you later.